joining me from the National Republic Conference earlier. Sky News US politics analyst and former Australian ambassador to the US, Joe Hockey. Joe Hockey, great to see you again. Thanks for your time. Look, even Donald Trump's enemies in the Republican Party today were uniting behind him at the Republican convention behind you. People like Nikki Haley and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. On the other side, many Democrat politicians are wanting President Joe Biden to quit as their candidate in the November election. So really, chalk and cheese, what betting odds would you now give on Trump becoming president again?
Well, in my view, there is a real momentum behind the Republicans. And it's, as usual, taken a couple of events to make that dramatically obvious. Obviously, Joe Biden failed dismally in the debate. But what it illustrated was he is suffering cognitive decline. And there is a general sadness across America about that. I mean, a lot of families have been affected by parents and grandparents that have gone through that. So there was no celebration of it. In fact, Donald Trump was really careful not to overplay it or prosecute the argument. It was self-evident and it's irreversible. The second issue, of course, was Saturday night. And, you know, that just goes to the safety and security of America. It goes to the fact that Donald Trump showed a level of defiance and a strength of character that some had not seen, or many had not seen in some cases. And that also had an impact as well. But the final thing about that is what that has done is it has forced Joe Biden to say, I am staying. He now has a legitimate excuse for not winning the election, if that should happen. That this event on Saturday showed that Joe Biden could not cower in the face of another assassin's bullet and cannot cower when things get tough.
Well, look, since Trump was shot, Joe, as you know, a lot of blame has been put on the left for demonising Trump as a dictator. I'm not saying that led directly to the shooting. We don't know what did. But, you know, painting him as a dictator, a threat to democracy. And one of the people who did that is Kevin Rudd, now our ambassador to Washington. You just had a chat with him. He's called Trump a traitor to the West. Nuts, the most destructive president in history, a man who drags American democracy through the mud, who abuses Christianity to justify violence. Now, when you interviewed Rudd, he said Australia can now work with Donald Trump as president. That's all very well. But is Kevin Rudd the man who can get the best deal for Australia from a Trump presidency when he's been as reckless as anyone in demonising him?
Well, look, I don't really want to get into deep criticism of Kevin Rudd or frankly, as far as I'm concerned, it's Team Australia. And look, if Kevin Rudd needs a hand, I'll give him a hand. Others will as well. You know, there was the example that J.D. Vance said some pretty extreme things about Donald Trump when he was a never-Trumper. So I think the road to Damascus is well worn, and we'll see if Kevin Rudd is going to walk that as well.
Yeah, but the difference there, Joe, as you know, is that J.D. Vance actually publicly said he was wrong. He was wrong about Donald Trump. He misread him. Rudd has never said he was wrong to think that Trump was a traitor, a man of violence, destructive and a threat to democracy. With a little bit of humility, a sort of, I see the light now kind of moment, might that help Australia?
It might, and again, you know, Andrew, I'll leave it to Kevin Rudd. He's a big boy. He's got to handle that, and frankly, it's too important for Australia not to have a strong relationship with the United States. And I think if everyone's shoulder has to go to the wheel, so be it. We'll wait and see. If Kevin Rudd's able to change his opinion on Donald Trump, maybe he'll change his opinion on Rupert Murdoch as well.
I don't think I'm not in Biden's league age-wise, but I don't think I'll live to see that day. You mentioned earlier this Trump that you're seeing in the last week or two. It's been fascinating, both in the debate with Biden, as you mentioned, especially after he's been shot, calmer, less aggressive. You met him a bit as ambassador. Is this a change, a genuine change, do you think? Or is it a tactical thing? Or did he always have that softer side?
No. Well, privately, yes. He has a curious mind. Donald Trump does care about people. He'd always ask how, the family were, and he'd care about individuals. He did a lot of things for a lot of people that was never publicised. That's Donald Trump. But there is no doubt that the assassination attempt has had a big impact on him. You could see his face last night. He had tears in his eyes, and he sees someone who cries as a sense of weakness. Well, last night he had tears in his eyes, and because he was overwhelmed, not just with the support, but with the fact that he was half an inch away from death. And quite frankly, it has changed. And the fact is illustrated best by Donald Trump has come into the convention centre to listen to Nikki Haley, who is his chief critic in the Republican Party, and Ron DeSantis, to listen to their speeches. Nikki Haley wasn't going to speak, but Nikki Haley has spoken, and that illustrates the fact that Donald Trump is going down a different course. If he is conciliatory on Thursday night, if Donald Trump is measured during the rest of the campaign, he will win by 7 to 8 points and deliver 40 seats in the Congress. But if he reverts back to the old Donald Trump, it'll be a much closer election.
I think you've called it exactly correctly. Finally, an America under Donald Trump, how is that going to affect Australia? What's going to change?
Well, I think Donald Trump already has a very high opinion of Australia. It'll be up to Prime Minister Albanese and Kevin Rudd to establish a good rapport from the very beginning. And that will depend on the relationship that has been built, relationships that have been built with a number of the people that are around Donald Trump. Also, and importantly, it'll be advocacy from others who know Donald Trump and have dealt with him, from Greg Norman and Rupert Murdoch through to a range of others that dealt with him in previous lives. Andrew, you know this better than anyone. This is an election that is not just being fought on personalities, it's being fought on policy. And today it was dominated by immigration and about personal security, about the despair on the streets of major American cities, of fentanyl, of the abuse of individuals, of gun crime. This is the stuff that resonates with America's base. Everyone wants to feel safe, everyone wants to feel secure, and everyone wants to ensure that there is not a free and open border with Mexico. And these are the issues that are going to deliver Donald Trump a victory, if it should happen, on the 5th of November.